Welcome to the Marketing Home, Marketing You podcast. Week after week, Barbara Savona of Sprout Marketing brings you quality conversations with industry leaders, mini marketing workshops, and step-by-step guides on everything marketing, business, and career growth. So grab a cup of coffee and get ready for some outside-the-box ideas from the girl that lives inside the shipping container box.
Okay. All right, friends. Welcome to this episode, this very special episode of Marketing Home, Marketing You. I'm your host, Barbara Savona, and today I am joined by Rebecca. Oh my gosh, Rebecca, why did I just freeze up on your last name?
Because I haven't actually changed it, and I'm in between for the last 5 years.
I know it's because Ross came up and I was like, we're not calling her Ross anymore.
Technically, if we want to be governmental, that's what it is, because I'm too lazy to go downtown to figure it out. But, sometimes, and the email signature, I'm Galinsky,
Okay. So then I won't feel so bad if it's still official. Today's the last day. Well, really, technically tomorrow is the last day that I can introduce you as Sprout's creative director, because I know you're moving on to a new adventure, and I wanted to do this interview kind of raw, we didn't practice at all. So I just wanted to talk through the last 9+ years of this craziness. Are you ready?
No.
What did you say beforehand?
I said it's like the beginning and the end. How the reason why you and I work so well together is because we just like to wing it, why prepare? Sometimes it's just better to wing it and see, and usually it works out for the best. So it's like the beginning and the end. We started it, and that's how we're gonna end it.
I totally agree. I think something along the line, we realized what we need to prepare for and the things that we do better on the fly, and we've just gotten really good at living in that zone of toggling between the two.
Yeah, it's our life is a content calendar, but it's also we're flying by the seat of our pants.
Exactly. Okay, so I thought this would be kind of fun to reflect on the years, also to talk through to somebody that maybe wants to be in a creative role and they're not right now, and then just kind of some raw truths on lessons learned and where things are going. So I think, first of all, can you tell everybody how you started with us?
Yeah, so I'm a multifamily Nepo baby. So my family, my father, his father, they have been in the property management industry because my grandfather grew up in the Depression, and then they wound up in San Antonio, and we're this looks great. It was the fall. If it was maybe the summer, it would have been quite a different story. And they started a property management company with just a few apartments and stuff. So when I was growing up, I worked what we call in the office, and I would go and do rounds, picking up the rent checks, and then going to the bank and doing that stuff. So when I was in college, I was looking for internships during the summer. I did not spend the summer like a typical student, just doing nothing. So my dad was like, I met this woman, her name is Barbara. You're going to go intern for her for free. And I was like, okay. So I think I was either a freshman or a sophomore in college. So I showed up in the little house off of 410. And I mean, I remember showing up, and you were like, what do you know? And I was like, I know nothing.
So I remember your dad calling. So he had been a client of mine when I worked for Front Media Solutions. And honestly, he was always such a hoot. We would all joke about who was going to have to go see Mark. He's just, your dad is just so nice.
He's an at.
He told me that, he said, I want my daughter to work for you for the summer, and you're not going to pay her. And I was like, okay. And so you came in, and after a couple of days, Lauren and I are we have to pay her, right? She's too good. We can't not pay her. So talk through just a few of the first things that you did, because I think we were trying to figure that out. We were just a couple of years old at that point and still figuring things out.
Yeah, I think social media had just started. It just started to become a thing. So Facebook, when I was in college, it was really just for people like me that were going to college, and we were writing status updates, cringe, and doing all that stuff. So when I came to Sprout, it had just started to slightly veer into the business side of things. So I remember one of the first things I did was like posting for one of y'all's big portfolio clients. Like you were like, here, this is how you post on Facebook for a business. You take this image and you post this graphics, and we're just gonna blast it out to all of them, because like that's what it was at the time. Like it was just like another way. It was like a megaphone, you know, versus like the curated vibes that it is now. So that was one of the first things I did. I think it was for like a student community, or it was like their student set.
Their portfolio, yeah.
Yeah, I cannot remember what it was. It was like Liveland or something like that. Like we did something like that.
It was like the Tallahassee group. I remember
Yeah.
we had to like
So
learn
I think that was one of the first things I did. And then I remember I helped like organize our Apple shared album galleries like into little sects. So like for preferred employers and like spring, summer, like
that was the website. Like the website was that before there was a real website, which is crazy because I think you built the first website, right?
Yeah. So I remember we were doing this and you were like, this is really hard. Like we should have like a website. And like, I was like, yeah, we definitely should. Like websites are it. And you were like, here, I downloaded this course.
My favorite
Watch it.
My team. Guys, it's either I listened to a podcast, I read a book, or I took a course, and now we need to do this.
Yeah, so Barbara was like, here's my login to this course, like watch it and let's build a website. And I was like, don't know how to do that, but let's go.
And it lived on for a while. Like we were trying to figure that out too. Like we used that website that you built for a few years.
We used it until I came back. So I feel like this was like, well, I graduated. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to go back through my history books, but I think I graduated high school in 2008, but then I was abroad for 2009. And then I like that 2010-ish time when we built this WordPress website, and then it sustained us until I came back like to Sprout to work for real.
Which was okay, so that would have been that we were only about a year and a half old. And then when did you come back the second time?
It was like 2014.
And you took a break in between. What did you go do and why did you come back to
so I was still in college. So when I went to college, you know, and I finished that out. I was a journalism major. And so, but like throughout the years, I think we kept in touch because I was still like maintaining this website, like doing only the hardcore stuff, like nothing crazy. But I was like, you were still like, hey, can you load this? Hey, this is wrong. Like, can we fix this? And so I was still doing that. And then after college, when I graduated, I got a job in Chicago because that's where my now husband is. And so I got a job at an agency, and it was, you know, it was. And then when I was like looking to make a change there, we like had coffee, and I was like, hey, like,
I think we met at Starbucks, like
yeah,
house.
Yeah, and you were like, yeah, we just started doing this branding thing. Like we have, you know, these you know, this apartment in Austin that we're working on, and there's like more coming on the line, and like we don't want to be the only ones doing this anymore. Can you help us there? And I was like, haven't done branding before, but sure. That's like the story of my life. Was I haven't done this before, but yeah.
Well, I think that was what was so exciting to me. Like I remember leaving there because I don't think Lauren came with us. This is like what I do to poor Lauren. Like I'll have these conversations and I'll call her and I'll be like, hey, I just had a great conversation with Becca. I think she's gonna come back on. And of course, at that point, it's like we have to figure out salary and all of this stuff. Then you came back 2014-ish. It has been, I mean, almost now 10 years, you know, 9 years. And we'll talk about your new adventure and kind of what led up to all of this, but what has been, let's talk personally in the business. Where do you feel you've grown the most?
I mean, everything. I feel like I was just out of like college. You know, even then, like even with the other job, like I picked up a lot of skills on the job in between Sprout and college, in terms of like digital marketing. So I feel like that set me up. But in terms of professionally, I mean, like I'm a totally self-taught designer thanks to Sprout. Like I didn't go to school for design. Like I had always been around design, but never actually doing it myself. And Sprout kind of allowed me to like tinker with that as an intern I remember I like redesigned a logo at one point, like way long ago. And like, I liked it, but like, I never found an outlet to really do it for real. And then when we came back in the branding realm, it was like, I slowly started picking up those design skills, like as we went with different branding projects, looking at, collateral all the time. Like when you start to look at something enough, like you develop an eye and then you just start kind of designing stuff yourself. And I feel like that was something that I picked up along the way. Also, I think one skill that I had going into Sprout was my writing skills. I mean, I went to school for it. I hope I pick up something there. But I really got to like flex that a lot more with the branding stuff at the beginning, really working on those taglines, like all the language that goes into a new project and things like that. And then really fleshing that out throughout the membership, doing like designs for that as well. And then obviously leadership. I think I had always in college, I had done a lot of extracurriculars, but there's like extracurricular leadership, which is like a, fake to me. Like there's leadership skills in there, but it's like, you're not like really leading a team. Like you're in college, like what are you doing? So I feel like with that, I was able to like, as I started to develop out these departments, like I had to like, people had to help in those departments. And that naturally like developed my sense of leadership skills as we kept going.
And I think just in the last few years, your ability to not just lead, but to teach others that are also in the design space, which I think that's a real challenging thing because everybody is so like committed and in love with their style to help others. Like even just in our little thing, we had our kind of our going away Zoom earlier, hearing the other designers talk about how you've helped teach them to hone their craft. I think that's been really cool. And I don't think that initially at the very beginning, that would have been a skill set that you had. I think you developed that.
No, I think being a self-taught designer is honestly liberating in a lot of ways because designers that grow up like being designers, like an artistic, like there's like a certain framework they learn doing that. Whereas like I've learned that more practically. So like I have definitely a more practical way of coming at a design project versus maybe someone that comes at it from like a taught formulated collegiate design level, which in a way I think is a asset because it kind of takes out some of the BS around it, like I think because like everybody's so like there is like a way of doing design and like art, but like, and I think sometimes when you're trying to do that in a business sense, it's hard to like merge those together because you want quick, you want agile, you want this, you want that. But when you come at like when you're free of those things because you never knew any other way, because you've only done it this way, it kind of helps like keep that process really tight and simple and easy.
In a way I relate because it's like somebody coming from like a business background where they went to school, they knew they were going to build a business versus someone that just kind of decided to do it and you're learning along the way. You do and you make mistakes sometimes that end up being very like fortuitous for you because you didn't know that was really not the right way to do it, and then things sometimes end up good. So I understand that it's like when there's no playbook, you kind of make the playbook. And I think that what you've gotten to do really well is like you've gotten to rely on your instincts of design, instincts of creativity versus rules. And I think that there's a lot of cool things that happen in that space.
Yeah, and it just makes it a little bit more fun because you're just like, gut doesn't feel right. Or like, gut, this feels like a good idea. Like, let's do it. And then like you see that like then everybody else is doing that too. Whoa, like do I predict the future? But I think sometimes just trusting your gut is like the most that I've learned in terms of being a designer and just like creatively leading is like trust your gut, like go for it. The worst thing that happens is that people hate it and whatever, you move on.
I think in a really small company, we say creative director and somebody might think of, oh, they're the marketing person or they're this. And I think that really the scope of what you do is really hard to encompass under that because you've really played a role in so many things. So let's talk about what it's like working for a startup, because that's initially what we were. What were some of the most challenging parts of that? Like no holds bar, like where was it hard 10 years ago, 9 years ago?
I think I mentioned this on our team call, but I think you feel like you got to say yes to everything. It's like a client wants this. Yes. What do you want? Sure. Of course. Like, yes. And like trying to figure, I think that's the hardest part. Cause like at the end of the day, like, I don't know what I'm doing all the time. And there's confidence built in that. Because I'm now at the end of like the road looking back being like, wow, I did all that. But I think in the moment, it was like, it's stressful because you want to do a good job. You don't really know what you're doing, but you feel like you've got to say yes because like it could lead you to other opportunities and you don't want to miss those either sometimes. And I don't think you always have to say no or yes. I think that's been a challenge for all of us, is like finding the balance between yes and no. Like we want to say, we want to help everyone. And I think that's a unique part of Sprout that may not be at every other company, is like every person on this team like wants to say yes to everything because we want to help you, but at the same time you have to know your boundaries and your limits, but you don't want to say no to everything either. And I think that's been always a very challenging thing in a startup to like navigate, is just when to put down a boundary, and like, and what does that even mean? Like, does the boundary have to be true all the time or just in certain scenarios? Like, I think that's always the juggling piece.
Also really hard too, because it's like sometimes in a business you want to just like say this is the new rule, and really it's not. It's hard when you're, you know, that might be the boundary with this client because they abuse you or you know, but this other client, there might be no issue with doing that. So I think that has been something we've all like struggled to learn. How was it working for Lauren and I? Because just as you were kind of like figuring out your wings, we were definitely, and there's been so many iterations of what leadership, what we've done, just the different layers. How was it for you? Like, what were the challenges in the beginning?
I think sometimes it's hard to to for someone like me. It's like if you come at me with, you want my ideas, like I'm gonna give you those ideas. Like, don't you know it, you know? Like, so I think sometimes in a startup, when you, like you, Barbara and Lauren, are still trying to figure out like where you want to land in terms of like what are we doing, what is this company, what are our values, like what are we going to say yes to, what are we going to say no to. It's for someone on the other end saying, where do I give my ideas, like how much of my ideas do I give, where are the boundaries to the ideas? Because I think sometimes it's like, I'll just keep, I always tell my mom when I talk with her, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm like sitting in the like in the train and I'm like watching myself go off the tracks, and like I know that I'm going off the tracks and I understand that that's happening, but like I can't stop. Like I'm still gonna keep going off the tracks here when it comes to like an idea or a thought or like pushing a process or whatever. And it's like I'm going off the rails, but like, and I know I need to be going this way. There it goes. Like, and I think that's always like a struggle because the company is still trying to find its legs too, and like you are trying to find your legs on top of the legs.
Right. Oh my gosh. But I think the good that came out of that, and like the feedback even to somebody young, is maybe sometimes like in your you kind of have to go through that to figure out your delivery style. And I think what ended up, at least to me, like what I saw the last few years, is it was a lot easier for me to say, hey, this is the level of feedback I'm looking for. Like, yeah, this is where, you know, and then at the same time, nothing being an emergency. I think when we used to need, hey, we need to make a move on this, and it felt like it needed to be tomorrow, everything felt a little more like, oh, intense. And I feel like the nice thing about being like a 10 plus year company now, I mean, we're almost at 14 years, is that you almost like nothing is an emergency anymore. It's like, okay, we've been here.
I feel like that's an age thing too. I feel that like even when you never said that you needed it tomorrow or whatever, like when you would tell me something, I'd be like, I gotta get it done right now. Right now is now. Like, let's do it now. And I feel like that's like part of being young, and like when you're trying to figure stuff out, and then as you get older and have more experience and confidence, you're just like, okay, like I'll get to that in a couple days. It's fine. Like it could be a couple weeks, it could be a couple months. Like someone will tell you if they need it now, instead of just like, need to operate in the now.
Yeah, I love that even today I asked you for something, you're like, this afternoon good? And I'm like, yep. And so it's right. Like,
but when you're younger, I would have just done it. I would have dropped everything I was doing and done it right that second, you know? And I think that's just age.
So I think we both, with age and experience, you know, I look back and I'm like, I'm surprised sometimes that we've worked as well, because we both have very strong opinions and ideas. Why do you think we have worked well? I know we've had our bumps, but why do you think overall we've worked well?
I think it's because I honestly think it's because like I'm a Barbara and Lauren translator. It's like I have an idea, and it's like And I think where sometimes some of that would get lost in translation, I've been able to be like, okay, this is the information. Okay, now how do we do that in a way with all the tools that we have? And then like translating that into like an actionable plan without having to ask you a million questions. Because I do think part of that is me being like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes like, especially for you, like you have a lot of stuff going on, like you have a lot of ideas happening, you know, like it's hard when someone's asking you a question about every little thing, you know? And I think sometimes you just need someone to be like, I've given you the information, take it and let's see what happens. And I think I've done it so much that now it's like, okay.
You know.
You're like, I want a webpage that has blah, 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 blah. Okay.
Well, and I think that goes, this goes to something I learned recently or heard somebody saying. It actually made so much sense. It said, you can people think you get confidence like through maybe affirmations. You actually get confidence from like the road that you just traveled and like the stacks in the bank, so to speak, right? So it's like once you started having so many wins under your belt, two things happened. Your confidence grew and my confidence in you grew. And I think that is where a really good spot happens with a team, is where you're like, okay, I don't even know what I'm asking for. Like I have an idea. When then you delivered something that was even better than I could have imagined, that is to me really cool. And then to be able to go back and forth. And I also think that that was because there was a lot of trust, like a lot of trust was put on you because you lived up to being able to handle it.
Yeah, and I think it's also the amount of mistakes. Like I've definitely had some L's, like when it comes to whatever, like whether it's designing a logo or like doing a presentation for a big conference or whatever. Like I've made so many mistakes so many times that like now it's like, okay, not this, like you have to make the mistakes to know what not to do.
Which is, I think, really good feedback. So kind of talking through like all of these things, what would you say to somebody that's like younger, that like wants to be in a role like yours, wants to be in a creative, maybe director type of a role, but maybe doesn't have that yet under their belt? Like what kind of advice would you give them?
It's funny. I literally just had this conversation with Kelly on our team, Kelly, because she has all the skills, and I think there's a level of confidence, like you have to fake it till you make it. I think you just go for it. And so you get it wrong. Like the worst thing that happens is that, let's say I did a whole set for something, like a whole collection for a cool event or something like that. And you hate it. Okay. And I think age, as like I said before, is definitely something where like that reaction comes, but just, okay, so you don't like it, that's all right, moving on.
Yeah.
And maybe trying to figure out how you could have caught that earlier. Because I know when we were doing branding, for example, we used to send out lots of logos, and that's always a stressor with any designer. It doesn't matter if you're working with Sprout or somebody else, but like you do a design project and maybe the first couple options that they send you are bad, right? So one of the things that like it took me a lot of losses and struggles and stress to get to with branding was like, how can I not show them stuff they don't want to see? And I think something we learned early on in the Sprout process is like sometimes words mean nothing, even though we are in the in words, but like sometimes you say modern and what you're thinking in your mind and what I'm thinking in my mind are totally different. And so we like to use a lot of pictures. That was like one thing that came from a lot of struggle, was just like, let's look at some inspiration photos, like of text, of icons, of interiors to figure out what we're going to do. And that became our mood board process, which is like a pillar of everything that we do here at Sprout. So that was, I think one of them is like you have to lose, but then you have to gain confidence when you're presenting, to be like, here it is. And I think another thing that I've learned along the way for someone new is less is so much more. I think, and we struggle with this at Sprout all the time, but like sometimes you can be like, here are so many options. What do you think? Here are 5 different ways you could do the same thing. But it's like, sometimes just show like 1, maybe 2, like I think you can, how I've kind of learned over time is like, I'm going to show the one that I want. I'm going to lead with what I want, but then not be offended if they don't like it.
Like you can't tie your worth to the outcome because the client has something else in their mind, especially with design. It's so subjective, so subjective. This is, I think, to be one of the probably funny on my end and frustrating for the team sometimes is you guys deal with two of us. So it's not just me, but it's Lauren. And we have very, we even though we operate a lot like we're one person, we have distinctive likes, and that's got to be also tough too, that you're kind of like, well, one might like it and one might not, so you're appeasing two people.
Yeah, and so you just have to like go at it with confidence, show them one, maybe two, maybe three. Like if it really depends, like unless you have three concepts that you're obsessed with, like then that's when you do three, but usually just two, maybe one. And then you just don't get upset when it's not it.
When it's not.
And I struggle with that even now. I remember with the Barbie set, I was like, here it is. I was like, don't say anything about it. I don't want to hear it. And I think that's like the other thing that I've learned is like, I need to stop asking for feedback when I don't want it. I think sometimes we ask and we're like, what do you think? Just wanting praise, like we don't want anything else.
Right.
And I like that's what I felt about with that Barbie set. I was like, I don't want to hear it. Like I've already stressed about this enough. Like I don't want to hear any thoughts.
And I think
that's okay.
That's a learned thing too, right? Like that's a learned, where do you have to have feedback in a design? Where do you have like agency to not get any feedback? And okay, so I was thinking back to, and I'm curious now in hindsight, because early on you were thrust into a lot of different like projects, situations that were not necessarily in your comfort zone. I'm thinking about when you had to meet with clients, like you like to be behind the scenes. So there was times you were meeting with clients. There were times you were in a leadership one-on-one role where you were having to do one-on-ones. There were times that I had you do speaking events with me. We did outreach marketing projects together. I mean, literally.
I did outreach with your mom. Like she was the expert and I was just like standing in the corner.
I know in the moment those were, challenging. What in hindsight, what do you think? Was it worth doing some of those things? Were some of them not worth it?
I still use this. I used to do outreach with your mom. That was like one thing that like, even though I hated it, like I'm not extroverted whatsoever. So going into like a situation where I have to like go talk to people, I don't know, like is really difficult for me. So doing it, it was so helpful in everything else that I do, because like now I knew what needs to be done by the property team to then design the right stuff for it. So even though it was like not my vibe and like, do I want to do it again? Absolutely not. Like it still was really helpful to like be in those shoes to figure that out so that I could better design and create ideas around it.
Yeah.
The speaking, for whatever reason, the speaking I don't mind too much. Like I used to do like webinars and stuff like that. I don't mind that too much. Although I'm definitely not as good as you.
No, that's what was so funny. Remember our Appfolio California trip? That was fun. And it's like, I always felt like when we presented together, it was a really good like synergy. So that was always a lot of fun. It was always surprising to me that you didn't enjoy it, but like, I get it.
I just like dead to the world after. It was like we would do those things, and it takes a lot of my inner
same
to like do something like that. And even after this, like I'll probably just like go into a hole, like have to like zone out to like recharge. But I didn't mind those as much. I thought they were really fun, and it was interesting to see. Honestly, those things made me appreciate the work that I was doing, because it was like, it really showed me where Sprout excels in terms of like giving real actionable advice to people and not just being like, hey, you need to do social media. That's it. Right. Have fun. Like I feel like it made me more confident in like the work that I was doing, because I was seeing how great Sprout was at doing it, like both by telling people how to do it, but then also like, here's all the tools to do it.
Yeah.
And it made me feel really confident in like that work.
Yeah, that felt good to see it in action, and that people could actually take an idea that we gave them, but then use the tools and bring it to life. That always was for me too. I felt the same way. I still do about speaking. Like I am always excited to say yes, and then I always dread the days leading up to it. And then I get up on stage and I love it, and I'll call my husband and say that was awesome, but then I don't want to talk to anybody for the next day. Like it's this very abusive roller coaster relationship.
Yeah.
Yet I keep coming back for more because I do feel that that connection with the audience is like huge. So
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of other stuff. I mean, the meeting with the clients, I feel like that was something that of a skill that I had before, just like throughout college, throughout all my internships and stuff like that. And I do think it's made me a better designer because like I think that's what has made me just like a good employee in general, because I have seen all aspects of everything to be able to like make good judgments, creative ideas, and like and implementing it is because I have seen the client side of things. I have seen the inside of a tech situation. I know how to design something. Like I come at it through like all levels. So I don't regret doing it. Now, do I want to like meet with clients every day and like that be my job moving forward? No, but I do appreciate the experience. And whenever I do talk to a client, I always have a blast. But then again, like it's just a energy suck.
well, I think that's kind of the thing when you're so well-rounded, it's so easy to plug you in anywhere. And I think that when you're a small company, that's just what we have had to do. But now I feel like there's so much more structure to our teams and our departments. So I guess what's the Sprout culture? What does it mean to you? We talk about it, but what is it for you?
I mean, it's just so like it's very agile, which as someone who needed that, especially like coming out of that other job and like all of that, it's really agile to be able to just like go where you need to go and what fits. And it's really supportive. I think something that's kind of missing sometimes from a lot of other multifamily culture is like this a real supportive environment, not just being like, here are tools, or like here's training, right? Or you know, here's a pathway of growth or whatever. Like those are all support, but I think it's also support in the sense of like, it's okay to mess it up really bad. Like you have like a supportive team behind you that's like, you're not going to get berated anytime you mess up. And I think that's something that I know for a fact that like not other companies have, specifically multifamily companies have, is that support to say like, you have, because I think that to me is what really allowed me to grow, was like knowing that I could really mess up, but like as long as we all learn from it and it doesn't happen again and we're moving forward and it's making us better, then that's okay. So to me, that's really, I think what it means to me is like having that support, no matter what decisions you make, no matter what's going to happen, no matter who's upset or whatever. It's just like you have that supportive thing. Sorry, I live in a city, guys. Nothing I can do about it.
What's crazy though is I think with that supportive environment comes that everybody holds themselves to a higher standard. That's the kind of crazy like opposite thing that you would think happens. People don't actually blow things up, but they know that if they do, that there's a whole team that'll collaborate and try to fix it. And we're not working, this is not like rocket science, we're not saving lives, we're helping property managers, but we're not going to do so at the expense of like ruining our mental health. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, I remember so Alyssa now, who does the branding department, she has for a while now. I remember when I was training her to like take over that section, she was like, what do I do? And I was like, listen, like, I want you to make a choice, and like, it might be the wrong choice, and that's okay. Like, I'll tell you if it is after the fact, but like, it's not a big deal if it is, as long as we move forward and fix it for the future. Like, that's the best everybody can do. Like, you give people that freedom to like make choices, and knowing that even if they're wrong, it's okay as long as we fix it.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it too. And I think it's been cool to see, like somebody mentioned in our call earlier, like we've gotten to see you as a single lady, as a newly married, woman, as a mother, and now next phase going into this new job. So when you told us, I mean, I feel like I messed this up because I had literally, like, I told you that I literally had said the month before 2 or 3 times to Lauren, like, you did something. I was like, oh my God, what would we do without Becca? And then something else. And I was like, Lauren, literally, what would we do without Becca? And then you know, a month later just said you needed a change. And so, I mean, you don't have to go into detail, but share what you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly an open book. The whole process, it went so fast, but like for me, it felt like an eternity. Like I had a friend that was working at this new company. She was telling me how much she liked it. It's in the food and beverage category, which to me is like where my happy place is all the time. Like I'm always talking about like new snacks, new food, new drinks, new things. So I was interested. They had this job open up and she referred me to apply and I was like, okay. So I was just like, I don't know if I'm really looking for something, but like, I'll take the I'll do an interview and see how it goes. And throughout the whole thing, like, I just like, I think I had so much guilt around it just because like, I was like, I don't want to leave Sprout high and dry. Like, what am I going to do? Like, and so like the whole process to me was like, it took an eternity. I just like felt so guilty, just like going back and forth. But at the end of the day, like, I think Sprout was really there for me. Like I had a very a toxic job right out of college. And I was like, I don't want that, And so I needed somewhere that like wasn't culturally toxic. And if you want more on that, Bill Nye has like a whole thing on the Sprout side that goes into it. And like, that was my experience at this other job. So Sprout was really there for me, like as a young person that like really wanted to get their hands dirty and like do a lot of things and make a big impact, but like also giving me that supportive environment and like this non-toxic culture that it really needed. And honestly, like it was so great. Like when I had Reed, my child, like working with Sprout to like figure that out, like it just like it was all like aligning really well. But I think, as I've said on here, it's like one of the things that is really hard for me is like going out and meeting new people and like doing things that isn't in my house. So I think that I've been remote for like 9 years and I felt myself being a bit of like a shut-in. I mean, I'm sure if you talk to my parents, they would agree. And that worked for a while. Like that stuff doesn't bother me. I still very much am an introvert and I like to, be alone and I recharge.
An extroverted introvert, like you can do it.
I can turn it on, but then like I immediately need to turn it off and like go into a dark corner of the world. So that's really why like I needed the change, was just like I need to like meet people in Chicago and like, go outside and touch some grass, like, and just like see how that is. And like, and I liked like the food and beverage side of things. So it just ended up really aligning really well. But like, it was really sad. Like I remember when I told you, I like literally started to sob cry. Like I remember talking to my mom, I was like, if I tell them, like, what do I do? And they were like, just don't cry. And then, like, the first thing I did was like started to sob. So it was just like, it was definitely a hard choice, but I figure it's like nothing's
permanent.
Yeah. Like we can see, like, let's try this. I hope it goes well. Like I'm committed to that, but worst thing that happens is that it doesn't, and that's all right.
So my reaction, if I give you the full like sequence of events, when you started bawling, I thought something was seriously wrong. So when you told me this and I kind of heard the feelings behind it, I was like just relieved, and I was super happy for you because I thought, man, this is so exciting. And I knew that you needed a kind of maybe a change of scenery, literally. But then I went home that weekend and I was like, holy cow, like, it's a real weird feeling because I feel like you are an extension of me and Lauren. Like, we have a lot of the team that's been with us a long time, but not everyone has been working alongside Lauren and I the way that you have. I mean, you literally are like the extension, but Lauren and I will come up with something and then we're like, let's run it by Becca. So and so, I talked to my husband and I was like, so like overcome with like emotion. Like, I'm like, the friend side of me is so happy for her. Like the personal, you're the same age as my sister. So it's like, from a sisterly perspective, I'm so happy. And then from a business perspective, there is a crutch that comes with having an employee that you just have bonded with, rely on, and just trust implicitly. And then I just remembered how, like, so many times I have forced every single person on this team to do things that are really hard too. And I just thought to myself, okay, this is gonna be a force stretched for me to kind of figure things out. And then I started thinking about the team, that in a small team, there's not a lot of room for a ton of advancement immediately. It takes long, you know. So
You
I
have
thought
to like carve it out yourself, you know, like make a new role.
you really do. And you've done that. And in a way, though, by being so multifaceted, you've taken, in a way, you've made your mark in so many areas that I think that in a way, it's almost like when the CEO becomes the bottleneck. I think in a weird way, the creative director can become a bottleneck too, from talent flowing. You know, it's like when I had to learn to let other people make decisions and me be okay with it, it was a hard thing. And sometimes it's still hard. But anyway, so I've gone through the gamut. And then, you know, last week I got COVID. And so I was like super emotional. So I cried about it like 3 times. And I'm like, is this COVID or is this like what's going on? At the end of the day, I think that it's really a testament to how I don't know, a few things looking back. It's like when I think about how young you were and how much responsibility we gave you and that you just ran with it, like it worked. And I think more companies should be willing to do that with people that can like showcase that. I don't think it would work with everyone, because I think that you were very competent and very like willing to learn, and you know, you were always pushing, you were always innovating. And so I think that, you know, there's obviously you wouldn't give that to anyone, but I don't know. I guess from my perspective, like I really have thought, it's like, how can I thank you for building this dream with me like the whole way and feeling so bad about leaving me. I'm glad you feel bad. If you would have not
I felt so guilty. Like literally that whole 2 weeks, like I wasn't sleeping. Like I was like, I'm sure everybody can relate to this, but like when you have like fake conversations in your mind, like I was doing that 24/7. I was like, how am I going to break it to this person? What am I going to say? Like, and just like over and over and over again. And I was just like, when I told y'all, like,
it was a relief.
I had the best sleep of my life like, the next day, man. Like I just felt so bad, like so much better, just like everything being out in the open, and it's like it's fine. Like, and I do feel really confident in like the people that I have worked with that would be taking these things. Like I feel really good about where they're at. Like I think sometimes like I was the bottleneck. Like what would happen if I just like let them do whatever they wanted? Like
yeah.
Well, I think it could turn out great. Like they probably have so many ideas that they're not even sharing with me because I'm not asking for them. Now it's their turn to like
100%.
do it. Because they totally could, and their ideas might be even better. And that's all right.
And I think that's what's cool, is every iteration of Sprout is gonna have the new people. Even when we were looking back at all those pictures, like I think about Jen, when, you know, Jen was another one that when she left was like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna replace Jen? And you never replace the person. You really just kind of branch out and become different, you know? And I think like the Taylor Swift, like how Tassa put at the end, we'll never find another one like you. Like that's not happening. But I think that it's the work that you've done has made a mark. Like it will always be there. So I just want to, you know, thank you. And I feel like this session, like I needed to have it because my husband's like, what are you going to do? You know, we're talking about it. And I said, I don't know. I don't really want to plan it. I just kind of want it to be therapeutic a little bit.
This is therapy. Welcome, everyone. I hope you lay down on the couch and listen to this.
So if you need to move on to your other adventure, just tell your boss and give them an amazing 10 years of work, and they will feel, you know, I mean, it's bittersweet for sure. I think on both ends.
Yeah. And I feel like if I could give advice to anybody, like Google has everything you've ever needed. Like that's how I've literally done everything in the world. Like I just Google it. And if you can become a good Googler or ask AI or whatever, it's going to be eventually like that will make you excel in this type of career for sure.
That's a great parting advice. All right. Want to say anything to the Sprout team as you go this stuff?
Like, it's like not even hitting me yet, but I'm just going to miss them so much. Like everybody is just so unique and supportive, and like, I'm just like, I'm sure I'll cry later thinking about it. I'm too like amped up in this podcast now to like cry.
More
But
tears.
I have like my extrovert energy happening, so like crying can't happen when that's happening. But
You'll crash later.
I know, I'm sure. And so I just like I love every single one of them. Like I know they're gonna do so great. I know they're a little nervous, but I think that like
This.
they're the ones that allowed me to get to do what I'm doing. Like I wasn't doing anything crazy. Like I was taking their ideas and just like putting a nice bow on it and calling it a day. Like that's all of them already. So I'm just so excited to see what they're gonna do. And I've just loved being part of the team. I'm gonna cry.
And to promise to keep in touch and still answer my phone calls if I'm having an emergency.
When you're like, please submit this presentation, I'll be like, okay.
I'm like, Becca, I don't know how to. What is a PPT? Like, oh my God, is she?